Okay, we're reaching the end of the day here, coming up on the closing remarks. Before I go into them, I'd like to remind you that we're going to have a giveaway here in just a couple of minutes. What I'd like you to do is take a piece of paper, anything that you'd like, write it on the back of your business card, whatever. We're mainly interested in knowing what resources ISOC can provide that will help with the global deployment of IPv6 and DNSSEC. So we've had a lot of conversation today about deployments. If there's anything that's come to your mind that you think that we can do to help out in this space and providing free resources online, by pointing to other resources and promoting other resources that are out there, whatever the case might be, just go ahead and jot that down. It could be something really simple. Put your name on it. We would love to be able to contact you. We're not going to come after you and spam you or do anything like that, but we'd love to be able to contact you to talk to you about your comment after the fact. And also, we need to know what your name is for the drawing. We're going to use those forms at the end of a presentation. Dan's going to do here at the end. And we're going to go through the middle of the room. We're going to collect the forms, and we'll put them in one of these bags up here. I think we'll take Paul and have him come up and just put his hand in and pick a winner, and we'll give you an iPad too. So that'll be in a few minutes.
Paul is now accepting bribes.
There you go.
Small bills only.
Anyone in the room is eligible to do this. The only two people that can't get the iPad too are myself and Dan York. Those are the only two people. So well, that's up to you to make that declaration, but anybody can get it if you'd like. So, and also before I go into the final remarks, I want to remind everyone that we do have a cocktail party just after this event today. So at 4:30 this afternoon, sponsored by Bell Juniper, over in the sponsor showcase, we're going to have a cocktail party, so please join us over there. And this evening, sponsored by the Internet Society at 7 p.m. across the street from the hotel, we're having a dinner at Canyon Creek for those of you who have registered for the full Canadian ISP Summit events. So that'll happen this evening at 7 o'clock. But before I move on to Dan's piece here, I want to talk about a few of the things that we talked about today. So, of course, we talked about Internet Society's new deployment initiative. So if you guys have any comments on that, please send it to us. But we talked about Internet Society putting out a new deployment initiative online, in the social media space, and through meeting events like this where we're talking to people about deployment. We're trying to increase the conversation about deployment. I know it was said somewhere in 2010, I'm sure about 50 or 60 or a couple thousand people said 2011 is a banner year for IPv6. It has to happen in 2011. Well, it's November, and next month is December, and I'm going to say 2012 is a banner year for the deployment of IPv6 and DNSSEC, and it's getting serious now. We actually had the depletion event happen at the IANA this year with IPv4, and it's serious business. The killer app, a lot of people years ago were trying to figure out, well, what's going to be that killer app to drive people to V6, and a lot of people predicted back in the late 1990s that killer app was going to be the full depletion of the IPv4 address space. And I have to say that those people that made those predictions were pretty right, because here we are, we're depleting the IPv4 address space, and we're just starting to reach a point where we're going to go beyond 1% on deployment with IPv6. Next year is a very important year. Please participate. Please do the deployments yourselves. We had a panel discussion today. We talked about the challenges and opportunities there in deploying this stuff. And you got a lot of great information from the panelists. I think that was a wonderful panel. And I'm sure that you guys know these folks that were up here on this panel today, and that you have access to them one way or the other. If you need to ask them questions, ask them questions. We did a World IPv6 Day recap. It was a very interesting event for the Internet Society. I mean, it really wasn't the Internet Society that did this. We helped coordinate it. It was the community itself that participated in this event that made it happen. It was the content companies and the other companies that came forward that decided that this needed to happen. And we helped them move forward and publicize this and coordinate that. We'll likely be doing this again. There will be an IPv6 Day Next or IPv6 Next event. It might be longer than a day. It might be in the middle of next year. I think there's probably going to be an announcement coming in the next month or so that will describe exactly what we're doing with the next event with the community. And we would encourage you guys, even if you're a small provider and you think it doesn't matter, it does matter. Participate. Just join in and let people know that you're doing this too. And of course, we just had the Ask the Expert session. It's a great session where you can get your questions answered. And we'd like to do this more of this type of thing going forward in the future. And I'd like to thank Owen for doing that. So, as you guys are writing up your slips, and you're putting your name and your email address on it, and you start passing it towards the middle of the room, and please, the guy and the gal or the gal that's sitting in the middle, don't take the things and put them under the table or do anything like that. Dan's going to come up and he's going to close us down with some closing slides, and we'll be picking those things up.
All right, so who's gonna start picking up the? Okay, who's gonna start? Oh, we've got one. Okay, who's gonna start putting? Where are these going? Who's got a bag? As far as working, I think I see people starting to bring them toward the middle. So
It's a conference bag.
okay. Oops. All right, so Richard's gonna do that. So I just have to say thank you for all of you coming here. We know this was the extra part before the main event that's going on for the next 2 days. So I'd like to say thank you to all of you because this has been a great turnout. I've been very sitting over there taking notes, tweeting all sorts of stuff, doing things, but you know, it's been great. So thank you for all being here. One question I have for you is how many of you are Internet Society members? Okay, a few of you here. I'll mention to you that I need my clicker here. If you haven't looked at it, if you go to isoc.org/membership, you can become a member. It's actually free to become a member. You don't have to, although we certainly enjoy people who are sustaining members and provide some amount of funding. But I would encourage you to please check it out, look at the benefits, consider joining, because what we do, this is part of what we do. We bring events like this, both here to Canada and also to other parts of the world. So a large part of what we're doing is these kind of things. So if you'd like to stay, if you'd like to learn about what we're doing, how we're helping doing this, you know, as you can see here, you can join, participate in some of our surveys, some of our information. We're at an interesting space in the evolution of the internet. There's a lot of different policy, a lot of different challenges coming up. Not only at the technical level with the deployment of IPv6 and the pieces that are here, but also just at a higher level. There's a lot of the various different government folks who would like to have a much larger say in the guidance of the internet, not just the government here in Canada and the United States, but also throughout the world. A lot of other governments, a lot of traditional telco companies and others who are not necessarily as large players are looking at ways to do that. There's a lot of content providers who would like to get everything, you know, in their own way. There's a lot of different vendors, a lot of different players in this space, and the internet has evolved from this, you know, research playground to really a critical part of our communication infrastructure. And with that, there comes a lot of these kind of larger policy issues, larger types of issues that are out there. And so the Internet Society is one of the organizations out there trying to help highlight these issues and promote it. We'd love it if you join us. As I said, there is a global membership that is for free that you can go and do that. There are also local chapters. There are about 90 of them around the world. And the chapter activities in many cases are about doing local events like this and providing information, contributing, you know, educating people locally about what's going on in those regions. Here's some of the events that some of the chapters have run recently. They've had IETF Awareness Day. They've had events like this, conferences that they've done on their own to talk to people about what are these kind of issues, what are these types of things that are out there. We've had seminars and trainings with local operators and local businesses around why they should do it. Here in Canada, there's actually there's a chapter in Quebec, but there's not chapters in other areas, and our chapter folks would love to talk to anybody who'd be interested in helping create some local interest groups in other parts of Canada. And you can go right here to isoc.org/isoc/chapters, and I know that the team would love to hear from you if you are interested. They have all sorts of different information, toolkits, ways to learn a bit more about what we're doing. Also, I'll just put out a mention too that if you go to the Internet Society website now, you'll see over the next couple of weeks we're actually in the process of rolling out a newer website that will have some more info and some more design to it, so you can check that out as well. With that, I will just say again, you know, as Richard said, in this next month or so, we're going to be spending a lot of time kind of pulling together the resources we've been accumulating and looking at and trying to make this deployment hub, which we're putting at isoc.org/do, and whether the name stays do hub or whether it changes something else, we're presuming this URL will be there so we can tell people to go do IPv6 and do DNSSEC and things like that. So we'd love your input, because as you go to the site, you'll see that there's a lot of blanks in there, lots of little holes and little stuff that says, oh yeah, in the future there'll be this here. We'd like your opinions and comments as we look at what questions the various audiences need to be asking. And then part of that, the things we talked about here, the questions you've raised. What are the questions you need to answer? We want to answer those. We want to help you. We want to help provide you with the resource that will help you drive more of this capability out there. So again, there, and just send us an info@dohub@isoc.org. That's all I really have, because I know that I stand in the way of cocktails, and so I didn't want to have much more. And so I know we have some more slides, and we also have our drawing while we're getting set up for the slides.
So I got a few.
I want to set up while we're doing the drawing. Okay.
So I got a few quick public service announcements here. And while I just get set up, Richard will walk around the room one last time and see if anybody else has anything for the bag.
No double entries?
Okay.
Like politics, vote early, vote often.
Yeah. So on behalf of the Canadian Network Operators Consortium and the entire Canadian ISP Summit team, I want to thank Richard, Dan, Megan, and their entire team from ISOC for an excellent afternoon in the Iron event. And as Richard mentioned earlier, we have some events this evening. A little bit more details. The cocktail reception immediately following the draw next door, courtesy of Bell and Juniper. And all other sponsors will be in there as well too, showing their wares. And afterwards is dinner at Canyon Creek, once again to the excellent courtesy of the folks at ISOC. Don't want to forget about all of our sponsors once again who are helping to make this event possible. This will be a recurring theme through the opening and closing remarks every day, but it really is these folks that made this possible. So please don't forget to thank them and help them out. The Wi-Fi internet access will remain available for the entire week, so it'll be on in the evenings, it'll be on even when the conference events aren't on. So remember the information if you didn't get on already. There's an array of access points set up down here. There's 4 or 5 of them covering pretty much the whole conference area, so you should have pretty good coverage. Tomorrow morning, breakfast courtesy of, actually that's a wrong logo, it's not courtesy of Bell and Juniper, it's courtesy of Aaron, I believe, is next door from 8 till 9. And the entire ISP Summit agenda will kick off shortly after it right here in this room in Ballroom A.
Yes, thanks to Aaron.
Yeah, thanks to Aaron, not Bell and Juniper for breakfast tomorrow morning. So that's pretty much it, and we'll let the draw get underway here.
All right, I'll say thank you. And also, we'll be, during the cocktail reception, Richard and I will be over at the table that we have there in the Internet Society booth if you'd like to talk to it. I have to leave early tomorrow morning so for some issues, but Richard will be around this rest of the week if you'd like to speak to him about anything with regard to the Internet Society. So, are we ready?
Yeah.
Paul.
So I got back here. So one of the rules is you still have to be in the room. Okay. So if you pull a name and you're not in the room, we're pulling the next name. The second rule is we have to read your name. So if we pull out a piece of paper and there's no name on it or something like that, you notice the paper, I'm sorry.
That's mine.
I'm going to ask, Paul, please do not discriminate versus a business card versus a half-torn pieces of paper versus a tiny piece of paper. I mean, just fill your hand around in there or pull something out.
Has like a $20 bill attached to it.
Here we go.
It's a piece of paper.
Big piece.
Allow Al Dick from VIF.
All right. There you go. Thank you very much. All right. Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right, thank you. All right.
And on that note, the bar should now be open.